Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank where I climb the Online Series 7 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we tried out a brand new team. It's a really consistent team, and it's more standard than a lot of the teams we featured in the more recent weeks, but as I mentioned, I think that if you're looking for a really solid team to climb the ladder with in the last couple of days before we switch to Series 8, you should definitely consider trying out this team. So, once again, thank you to Willy VGC for the team. You can find him linked in the description below, as well as a team report for the team, which includes a paste of the team, and there is also a rental code linked in the description below as well. So, let's just get right into today's episode. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, not really related to competitive play, but I'm curious if you could improve the in-game experience for just, the general main Pokemon franchise and the main games. What would you do? Let me know in the comment section below. So, first game of the day, we've got, it's a really cool team actually. Psychic stuff. We have Indeedee, Grimmsnarl, Glastrier, Porygon 2. I mean, it's clearly Trick Room, right? Regidrago and Galarian Slowbro. So, I think, typically just going with screens Grimmsnarl immediately is pretty good for us. I'm thinking Grimmsnarl, Glastrier, Fini, and I think Rotom-Heat's not a terrible bring here, primarily because it can Nasty Plot and it walls the opposing Glastrier decently well. Landorus doesn't feel too good, given the Glastrier and the Porygon. Our own Porygon is a little bit compelling, but it just does so little damage here, so I'm down to try out the Rotom-Heat here, because I honestly don't mind if my opponent sets up Trick Room here, right? I can just set up the screens with Grimmsnarl. My Glastrier obviously is going to be quite good under Trick Room, and Life Orb Glastrier under Trick Room with screens is just super, super strong, right? So I think it's okay for us here. Porygon 2 and Landorus. I guess I also have to question whether or not my lead was the best here. I thought about Fini, but the one thing I don't want to do with Fini is if they're min speed Indeedee. I like Fini for terrain control in case they lead Indeedee plus a Trick Room setter. So that's what I was going for here. But let's get into today's episode. Let's see what they're rocking here. It's going to be Grimmsnarl and Porygon. Okay. So that's actually one of the go-to leads we typically lead with. Grimmsnarl or Porygon? I'm honestly down to fake out their Grimmsnarl turn 1 and max Hailstorm it. Because I don't want any trick shenanigans going off here. I guess the only problem is if max Hailstorm doesn't one-shot. Yeah, actually, it probably doesn't. But then what I could do is Spirit Break. I don't know. The other play was maybe just fake out Grimmsnarl, max Knuckle into Porygon. This play is good if I one-shot the Grimmsnarl, but now that I think about it, Grimmsnarl is normally pretty bulky, so I don't expect it to. So I think, if anything, that was actually kind of a waste of a Dynamax if I'm not picking up the one-hit KO. Now, if I had Steel Spike, I definitely would, but I'm using a neutral attack, not a super effective attack. Okay, we do get the fake-out off, though, so that's nice. Maybe with the Hail and the fake-out chip, it's enough. And they just go for Tri-Attack. Okay, nice. So hopefully no status condition here. Okay, good. We get the max Hailstorm off. With Life Orb, is that enough? Okay, it is enough. Good, good. That's what I was hoping for, because this gets me a Beast Boost, or not a Beast Boost, a Chilling Neigh off immediately, right? More importantly, I wanted to just knock out Grimmsnarl because I really don't like the potential trick shenanigans, and so getting that out of the way is quite nice. And so now I have a +1 Glastrier with the Life Orb, and that's looking really strong, right? Because Porygon 2 is not really threatening it very much, and I can still use both Light Screen and Reflect with my Grimmsnarl. In that position, the only way that doesn't really work out for us turn 1 is if they fake out our Grimmsnarl, but I was like, that's not really that much of a concern here, I think. So they bring out Glastrier, which is fine by me. I'm content to just click Reflect this turn. And we have Rotom in the back and Tapu Fini, so I think Reflect here and just Knuckle into the Porygon is pretty safe. Because Rotom will wall the Glastrier really hard. I don't want to activate a potential weakness policy here on Glastrier. For example, if I win a Speed Tie, and actually activate policy, that's not really great. If I go for Knuckle here and I knock out Porygon, we're at +3 attack after this turn, which is obviously incredible, right? So Porygon also very rarely carries Protect. For that reason, it's a pretty safe target. I guess Glastrier here is always maxing and attacking anyway, but I'm content just knocking out Porygon because I know I have Rotom to deal with Glastrier in the back. Even just a single Overheat's pretty powerful here, right? So main thing here is that we get Reflect up, which is really nice. I think they should probably try to KO our Glastrier with the their Glastrier. Okay, they're going for Tri-Attack once again. Nice. We hang on, and we'll hang on even after the Hail. But they are going to Hailstorm that slot as well. Okay, makes sense. So they will get a attack boost on their Glastrier. They end up critting there. But yeah, I don't know if they needed to double up there. Well, perhaps they were worried after Reflect they wouldn't pick up the knockout, which is totally reasonable. They did go first there, but we are min speed, so all that confirms to me is that... actually doesn't really confirm much, right? Like, we know they're faster. Ooh, Porygon survives there. Okay. Well, I would have liked to pick up the knockout there, but it's really not the end of the world because I think Rotom-Heat's still great to go into for me here. In fact, actually, I guess by not picking up the knockout, I do deny them a free switch-in, which maybe works in our favor. I didn't see a Life Orb from that Glastrier. It's so commonly Assault Vest on Porygon 2 teams nowadays. And I know I'm min speed and they outsped us there, so I think I'm honestly content to just Thunderbolt here. They don't really have anything that threatens my Rotom-Heat immensely. I guess Indeedee is scary because of terrain control, but that's pretty much it. So I think I'm content to just go for a Max Knuckle and a Thunderbolt here. I also could have overheated into Glastrier and Max Knuckle. That was definitely a possibility as well. So definitely a little bit unfortunate we didn't pick up the KO with the Max Knuckle, but that's okay. And they go first again. Okay, that makes me think they're just faster and they're not exactly min speed, but still not 100% sure on that yet. Either way, because we have Reflect, I'm not that worried right now. And I can honestly just double protect this next turn. So my only question here is whether or not they have a weakness policy here. We do so much damage to Glastrier there as well, so that's good. And if they're not policy, this should be game over, I think. Unless you have, like, Scarf Regidrago. Okay, they are policy, though. Okay. I mean, that's okay. Like, I'm fine with that. But obviously, this thing's gonna hurt because it's gotten so many attack boosts at this point. Is that, what, +4 now? Double Protect this next turn is pretty safe. So we'll have to... It really comes down to who my opponent has in the back. Indeedee is scary, but it's gonna be Slowbro, which honestly is not that much of an issue, right? Because you can't... I can just Overheat here. And high horsepower, and actually that should just be a win. Just comes down to hitting Overheat, I guess, which is scary. But the odds are in our favor most of the time. We did get lucky in yesterday's Game 3, though, with that critical hit, which literally was like a game-saving critical hit, so... Oh, gosh. Does this KO? Oh, wait, we could still miss Overheat, though. I know, I totally forgot about Slowbro's ability with Quick Draw. Okay, we hit Overheat. Thank goodness. That was almost very, very scary. Yeah, now it should just be game over. I mean, even if we miss high horsepower here, Slowbro can't win 3v1 and can't really do enough damage to knock out Glastrier. But, I mean, if that Slowbro picked up the KO, that would have been game over. Because they just Max Knuckle and then pick up a double KO in that position. Like... That's why I wanted to bring Rotom-Heat in the back. It's exactly for this reason. Why? Because it offers me a much better kind of answer against the opposing Glastrier. Whereas like Porygon 2 and Landorus like really wouldn't have done very much for us, right? Landorus at best gets an Intimidate off, but Landorus is really kind of just like Glastrier bait, right? Glastrier just loves knocking out Landorus, and because I don't even have Protect on it, it means I'm forced to switch out. I guess the one upside of bringing Landorus is like baiting a max Hailstorm or Ice type attack and then like switching into Rotom, but that doesn't feel really good, to be honest. So, yeah. Otherwise, yeah, that was pretty solid. I think being able... The Life Orb on the Glastrier is honestly such a like game changer. I really like it on this team too, because with weakness policy, so many players now respect weakness policy on Glastrier. Funnily enough, in that game, actually, I was like, even if you're policy, it's okay. Indeedee as the last one could have been scary, because if they had Indeedee, they could go for redirections, like Follow Me. And then maybe Indeedee Glastrier could actually beat me there. So it may have been smarter to go Overheat and Max Knuckle onto my opponent's Glastrier, but if I Overheat, I would activate a weakness policy on the Glastrier before Glastrier attacks, and then their Glastrier could maybe go for Max Knuckle into mine. They would have been at, what, +3 attack. But we had Reflect up, so I guess we'd probably survive in return. So maybe I could have just doubled up onto Glastrier, but I was worried. There is a small chance they max guard Trick Room there. If they do that and they get Trick Room up and they actually end up being min speed Glastrier and like win a speed tie, that could be really bad for us. So I wanted to cover for that option. Plus at that point I was thinking it was AV Glastrier more than Life Orb. Or sorry, weakness policy. Okay, this is definitely a Rotom-Heat game. My opponent's Rotom matchup is really poor. That being said, it's not like we have an insta win, right? Like this is a great example of how, like, okay, we know that Rotom is, like, the main win condition we want to play towards, but we still have to be very careful about it, right? Because there's a lot of disruption from my opponent. Potential Sleep Powder from Venusaur. Aleki could lower Rotom's speed. The Torkoal can yawn it as well if it has a potential Snarl/Parting Shot from Incineroar. The main thing here is that they just don't have great super effective damage into Rotom, so that's a plus for us, for sure. I like Grimmsnarl, Rotom here, I think. That feels really consistent. I think Fini's great here as well. Man, Landers is weird, because, like, I'm only intimidating Glastrier, and I don't really want to be intimidating Glastrier. It's weird, also, if my opponent didn't have Glastrier, this would actually be, like, a potential great Dynamax game for Landers, but it doesn't feel that solid. So I'm leaning more towards either my Glastrier or my Porygon. Porygon actually does some pretty decent damage across the board against my opponent's team, but it's really weak to their Glastrier, especially with Max Knuckle. My Glastrier offers me a Life Orb Close Combat, which is actually really strong here. It's just the Torkoal that scares me a little bit. Both are viable options here. I'm going to go with Life Orb Glastrier. That way, if they set up Trick Room, I also have something that can do decently under Trick Room, right? Because I don't have to commit my Dynamax to Rotom-Heat right now. But I'm thinking if I can just get a Nasty Plot with Rotom... Okay, actually, one other question to ask here is if they have Haze on Dusclops. Because if they don't have Haze and we just, like, fake out Nasty Plot turn 1, even if Trick Room goes up, Rotom should just sweep through my opponent's entire team. So, they're going to need to play very carefully to beat the Rotom, and they're going to go with Venusaur and Torkoal. The only debate here is what you do with Venusaur turn 1, right? You could just go Max Ooze, for example, onto the Grimmsnarl. Now, I don't think that one-shots... So the play I'm actually leaning towards most here is Fake Out into Torkoal and just Overheat into Venusaur. I guess I don't know if... Overheat's pretty darn strong. It's Sun boosted too. I think it's pretty foolproof for the most part. I guess unless you just Sleep Powder into... Oh gosh, I think they're Sleep Powdering into Rotom. I could have just knocked out Venusaur there. That would have been really nice. Now, they're at the mercy of, like, a wake-up this next turn, right? I just was worried about Venusaur protecting or switching out there. I wanted to cover my options, but I don't think that ended up being a great play for me. So I'm going to Light Screen here for sure. And try to launch an Overheat. The other question is what item the Venusaur has. Okay, they're not maxing Venusaur, which makes sense, because if you max and Rotom wakes up, you're in really bad shape. It's just going to be Sludge Bomb into Grimmsnarl, actually. It's curious that they're not targeting Rotom here, actually, because I think that's pretty good for us, because we want this thing to not take much damage. And we wake up. Okay, nice. I mean, Sleep Powder is really high variance, right? Are you Focus Sash? Nice, they're not Sashed. Okay, that's so good for us, then. That's also the biggest threat to my Tapu Fini out the way, so I can actually bring it out this next turn. They're going to go for an Eruption, but that's okay. Very fortunate to get the turn 1 wake up there, but... And Grimmsnarl hangs on. Wow, that's impressive. So this is where if I had Landorus, well, no, I think my opponent's still going to have Glastrier in the back. I expect Tapu Fini to come out for my opponent, or sorry, Dusclops to come out as I bring in Fini. So I can call my Nasty Plot this next turn. Yep, there's Dusclops. I think I like Calm Mind Nasty Plot here. It's pretty safe. I don't really want to switch Rotom out here. And I might still Dynamax my Glastrier, to be honest. The main reason, like, if... I don't know. I mean, Rotom I'd want to switch out, but is it really a good idea to switch out right now? Probably not. I guess Torkoal might just play aggressively and attack. If they don't have Haze, I think Fini's in really, really good shape, too. But I think Calm Mind Nasty Plot works here. Maybe T-Bolt into Torkoal just for a little bit of chip, but... There is a small chance Torkoal wanted to protect there. They don't end up protecting, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should have just gone Fake Out Overheat onto Venusaur turn 1, but if Venusaur max oozes and then you, like, Eruption, that's actually really bad for me, right? But maybe Fake Out Max Flare is, like, a KO onto Dynamax Venusaur, so that's actually maybe our best bet. They do have Yawn. Okay. That actually makes things slightly awkward, I would say. But it's okay, because Fini is in really, really good shape. It comes down, I think, to... If you don't have Haze, my Fini is going to be excellent here for us. So I'm going to Calm Mind here, and I am just going to... I think they're going to stay in with the Torkoal and go for just the Fire-type attack, because you want to cover for my Glastrier switching. But I can punish you switching out into your Glastrier if I just Overheat into Torkoal. But yeah, they stay in. Okay, they go for Earth Power. So we've seen Earth Power, Eruption, Yawn. No Haze, which is good. Okay. Yeah, so they didn't want to hard switch their Torkoal out there, which makes sense. So that's what I was saying in team preview, right? Rotom-Heat looks really good against my opponent's team, but they probably are going to have some answers against it, and their answers were, you know, of course, sleep here in the end, but should do a good amount of damage there. Very good damage, actually. Nice. Now the question, it's awkward, like, do you just, like, finally switch out the Torkoal, right? And I guess my other question is, are you weakness policy on the Glastrier? I lean towards Protect here. And Overheat. Trying to buy another turn. But maybe they just switch Torkoal out here. Okay, they don't, which is good. I wanted to see that, so that's solid. Because this is still going to be a tough endgame, I think. Yeah, they went for Yawn onto Rotom. Okay, Nightshade onto Fini, good. So that buys a turn of Trick Room and a turn of Sleep here on the Rotom, which is obviously helpful. Sunlight fades, which is good. They're really not doing much damage with Torkoal right now. I mean, I have to wonder whether or not I just want to Dynamax the Tapu Fini here, so I take less damage from the Nightshades. Because I'm at, what, +2, which is pretty good. And if you have Glastrier in the back, I'm going to do a fair amount of damage to that Glastrier. Or, because there are only 2 turns of Trick Room left, I intentionally... Oh, wait, I like this play more. I'm going to Geyser into Dusclops. Yeah. Although I guess Torkoal should switch out here, finally. But they don't, which is good for us to see. The reason I'm Geysering into Dusclops is because I think another Rain-boosted Max Geyser should just KO, so I can Max Guard, and then if I KO the Dusclops, you don't have Trick Room, right? So now I have Fini plus my Glastrier with Light Screen still. I don't know if it's really the smartest play here. Like, this one was kind of awkward because I feel like I had a really good lead and we were lucky enough to get an early wake-up this well, but I feel like, if anything, I really haven't pushed the tempo enough. Yeah, they just go for another Yawn, which is fine. And I'm intentionally not knocking out the Torkoal here because I don't want my opponent to get a free switch, and I'm hoping this does over 50%. Really good damage there, actually. Nice. Well, I suppose if Rotom wakes up, we'll actually knock out the Torkoal, but that's fine, even if that happens. Okay, we do wake up. Well, I don't know. We're at -2 special attack. Oh, I went for Nasty Plot, right? Forgot I did that. Okay, nice. So that's really good now. Yeah. This is perfect, right? Because my opponent is in their last turn of Trick Room. They're not really threatening me with very much damage this turn, and I should be able to just pick up a double KO here, so I'm just going to Geyser into the Dusclops. They're probably going to Pain Split. That's okay, and I'll T-Bolt into the Torkoal. The main thing that was really tough for my opponent here is that they just, like, can't Dynamax. I mean, I guess you're not going to Dynamax Torkoal. I think Glastrier is always going to be their last one in this position, based off how they played it, right? Like, the idea was to set up Trick Room and then get in Glastrier, but this is the awkward thing about setting up Trick Room, but then not getting a free switch into it, right? If you don't have a move that lets you switch out something like Parting Shot or U-Turn or Volt Switch, then you're at the mercy of either making a hard prediction, hoping your opponent doesn't target what's switching out, or hoping your opponent knocks you out. So, I talk about this concept a lot, but when you're playing against Trick Room teams, you always want to ask, like, do I actually need to go for a knockout this turn? Or is it better for me to actually let their Pokemon intentionally not get knocked out? Okay, they're going to Pain Split Rotom. I don't even think that heals them enough, to be honest, to survive Geyser and Rain, so yeah. And the cool thing is now you can just switch out Rotom. I'm assuming the last one is Glastrier, so assuming we pick up a double KO here, we're going to be looking really good in this endgame, because we can just go Geyser into the Glastrier, switch our Rotom out, and our Rotom is going to wall their Glastrier super, super well. And if their last one's not Glastrier, this is really tough for them. I guess if it's Regieleki, no, that's not going to win against us, because we have +2 special defense. So, Dynamax Tapu Fini doesn't come out as frequently with this team, but it can be really, really good, right? Combine Tapu Fini can get boosted up and can just completely wall your opponents while also dishing out good damage. You just have to identify when you actually want to Dynamax it. As soon as my opponent didn't go for Haze initially, though, I was like, okay, don't think you have Haze, which is good for us. So, they bring out their Glastrier. That's fine by me. I am just going to go for another Geyser here into their Glastrier and switch Rotom out into my Glastrier. You have to Dynamax the Glastrier here, otherwise I'm pretty sure I just one-shot. If you have Protect, you can obviously go for the Protect, but you'd probably want to Max Guard so you don't take any damage through the Protect. And it's a 3v1 at this point. Now, their Glastrier could potentially pull a comeback off. I'm switching Rotom out because the Rain is going to be expiring after a couple turns, right? So as soon as my Rain expires, I can just bring the Rotom-Heat back out and Overheat, and given that I was hit by a Yawn previously, yeah, doesn't feel great if it falls asleep here. Now, one thing my opponent was doing was staying in with that Torkoal, and they were going for Yawn to cover for switch outs, but it actually doesn't really do very much. Well, it covers for a Lander switch out, but because Misty Terrain was up, like, most Pokemon on my team aren't going to fall asleep, right? So let's see if they Max Guard here. Nope, they don't. They should do at least 50%. They might be Assault Vested, which I suspect may be the case here. Nice, that's a ton of damage. And at this point, I think we can actually just reliably... They go for Knuckle, so good awareness. But yeah, you can't one-shot Glastrier there. So that's why I made that switch out. You can see there, even if they got a critical hit, my Glastrier would have survived, right? So there's like a small chance. I don't know, if I'm really nervous about you knocking out with the crit there, it may be better to just stay in with the Rotom. But because we have the numbers advantage, like it's literally 3v1 with the Dynamax boosted Fini, it's really safe. So we can just Moonblast now. We don't have to risk missing and close combat. 2 Moonblasts plus a Thunderbolt should be enough to knock out. In endgame scenarios, you always have to ask yourself whether or not it's actually necessary to predict who your opponent is targeting, and ask yourself whether or not you need to protect. In this position, there's like a slight chance I could throw, right? For example, let's say I protect... Well, actually, at this point, it was probably over because I had so many Pokemon. But let's say in like a 2... Assuming I didn't have Rotom in the back, if I protect the wrong thing, right? Let's say I protect Glastrier, they crit max Quake onto my Tapu Fini, and then they win a speed tie against my Glastrier, or they're just faster. They could actually just win the game outright there, right? So always ask yourself in endgame positions, do I need to go for protect? If not, then you should just launch as many attacks as possible. And remember to try to use higher accuracy attacks if your opponent's Pokemon are already like chipped down, right? In that position, Glastrier was so low. And some of this stuff, I mean, it seems intuitive and seems obvious, but often like in the heat of the moment, it's very easy to forget about these things. And I know even for me, like I often make mistakes in the end game. So one thing that's really important about Pokemon is just making sure that you like secure those victories that feel like they're all but locked up. So yeah. All right, next game here. Landorus, Rotom, Moltres, Fini, Raichu, Kartana. Kind of reminds me of the Moltres team I made in the very beginning of the season, so that's cool. Rotom's really good for us here, I think. But Landorus on the opposing end is scary. I mean, Grimmsnarl, I feel like, comes out in almost every game with this team. It's just so good, right? Setting up screens for your team is invaluable. Porygon's interesting here, though, because Tri-Attack and Ice Beam actually do a lot of good damage into my opponent's team. Because, like, I could actually play with Porygon and Glastrier. The problem is my opponent's Rotom-Heat. If I go Porygon, Grimmsnarl, Glastrier, I'm really weak to Rotom-Heat. And that makes me nervous. They could also go, like, Raichu, Kartana. Raichu will get a faster Fake-Out against this Grimmsnarl, which is slightly scary. Not Swords Dance on this Landorus either, which is also maybe a disadvantage. Okay, I'm down to go with Grimmsnarl Rotom, because I can pressure with Nasty Plot. Definitely want Landorus in the back, and Fini feels like an appropriate fourth here. Now, my opponent's Kartana is going to be somewhat scary, but Rotom obviously has a good matchup type-wise against Kartana, plus I have Intimidate Landorus in the back. So, yeah. I think, like, the main reason I didn't want to go with Porygon here is because my opponent's team can snowball somewhat quickly, especially if, you know, like Moltres... you can Nasty Plot. Like, that thing can get to +5 special attack within, like, 2 turns, essentially, right? So that's what I was mainly worried about. They're going to go Fini Rotom, which I think is okay for the most part. Like, I think turn 1, it's relatively risk-free to fake out Fini and Calm Mind, unless they just straight up Dynamax Tapu Fini, which actually isn't a terrible option on their end. That could be really scary. But I guess if you commit Dynamax to Fini, it's not the end of the world for us. I don't know. I think this is actually a really good position for them to consider maxing Fini. Will they really go for it here? If they go for it, I don't know. We'd actually be in pretty bad shape. I could Light Screen max Lightning, but then they could switch Rotom out into Raichu, which is also pretty scary here. Okay, I'm going to go for the Fake Out and the Nasty Plot, but if my opponent Dynamaxes Fini, props to them, because I think that's a really good play. There's the Switch Out. That makes me think it is going to be... Okay, it's Landorus, though. If their Fini doesn't Dynamax turn 1, we're in such good shape, but even if it does, like, you committed your Dynamax earlier than I did, and it's not boosted Tapu Fini, and they don't Dynamax. Okay, huge, huge, huge. Because now, I get the Nasty Plot off, which is really good for us, and I still have the screens with Grimmsnarl to set up, right? So that's really valuable as well. The only thing about this position is whether or not I want to worry. Actually, because I don't think Fini's a threat at all, to be honest, if I set up the Sun. So in this position, what I can do is actually go for Reflect, Dynamax my Rotom, and Max Flare. Reason being is because if the Sun is up, you're not really doing any damage with, you know, Tapu Fini, especially because you're not Choice Specs or Life Orb here. We just saw the leftovers. And so, yeah, you do get a little bit of damage with Muddy Water, but with Reflect, even if you max Rockfall into Rotom, I shouldn't take that much damage. It's going to be Fini switching out, which is fine. Maybe into Raichu. That's Rotom. That's also okay. Yeah, I'm okay with this. And they're going to Dynamax Landorus. So I guess the scary thing here is that Landers will probably survive the +2 max flare, assuming you're assault vested. Actually, even if you're not AV, you probably survive, to be honest. But because I have Reflect up and I have a Landers switching on my end, I can just bring in Landers for Intimidate, and that's pretty good for us. But it is slightly scary, right? Because their Landers is faster than us, and so they're going to get a good chunk of damage off here with Max Rockfall, presumably. But the question is whether or not 2 Max Rockfalls can KO, even without Intimidate right now. And if the answer to that is no, I might even just stay in with Grimmsnarl and go for a Light Screen rather than switch out into Landers. But if it looks like 2 Rockfalls will KO with Citrus and Reflect, then I'll switch out the Grimmsnarl into Landorus. So, yeah. That's why I didn't want to target the Fini here, because I thought, like, at this point, Landorus is the clear Dynamax option for my opponent out of those two. By targeting Landorus, I also cover for going for a Swords Dance if they play really greedy. So there's Rockfall. Wow. Reflect and Light Screen are just so good. We took less than, like, 40% from that. That's insane. Wow. Okay, nice. So I don't even need to switch out Rotom here, to be honest. Now we get a +2 max flare into the Landorus. Ooh, they are AV, though, it looks like, so they take it really well as well. Okay. I honestly wonder whether or not I want to target their Rotom here. I have Fini and Landorus in the back. Both of those are actually very good for us, so I'm happy with that. I'm just nervous about switching my Grimmsnarl out here into Landorus, but the question is, what do I really need Landorus for here, right? The only thing I'm intimidating is Landorus and Kartana. And there is a decent chance Kartana is my opponent's last one, but I think I'm okay switching out into Landorus here and just going for a Flare. It looks like a roll on my opponent's Landorus too, so maybe we can actually get a higher damage roll and pick up the KO here, but I'm content with this. If they overheat into Grimmsnarl, so be it. Great play by them. I'm pretty sure with the Assault Vest, we should still survive anyway. And yeah, if Landorus doesn't get targeted here, I can just switch back out into Grimmsnarl next turn. Getting an Intimidate off into the Landorus here is pretty valuable. They max Quake into that slot. Wow. That, I think, is, that, I think, probably just wins us the game. And I can see why they max Quake, right? You get a special defense boost, and you get damage onto the Grimmsnarl, and maybe here they're predicting Rotom to protect, but I have no reason to protect Rotom. Rotom's in such good positioning right now. And they go for Overheat. Okay, yeah, so it was a double up, but I think we survived this. Even if not, it's not the end of the world, and we do survive. So you guys can see just how strong Rotom-Heat is, actually, right? Like, it really carried us in a lot of the games today, and I've been a believer of it since Series 1, and even though the metagame shifted a lot, it still continues to be incredible. Like, Fire plus Fighting is just such good typing. Kartana is my opponent's last one. I think if you're bringing Kartana here, to be honest, you're using it as bait to switch Kartana back out into Tapu Fini, but I don't really mind that, right? Yeah, I'm content to just switch out into Grimmsnarl here. And because I'm pretty sure they are AV on the Landorus, I'm just going to max Lightning Kartana at +2. That should just KO. Okay, they stay in. That's fine. As soon as Kartana goes down, we definitely should win the game with our Tapu Fini in the back. Okay, yeah, they just stayed in with both. That's fine. Yep, Leaf Blade doesn't do that much. Nice. I max Lightning there because, like I said, I'm pretty sure Assault Vest is on the Landorus. So I think you're Focus Sash here. And because I think you're Sash, yeah, it is Sash. I cover for the Tapu Fini switch in there. And I think it's reasonable to think like Kartana comes out to try to bait me into max flaring it, and then you switch into Tapu Fini. So that's good. Yeah, they go for Nasty Plot, but that's fine. Our Rotom's been going first, which is also really nice, because it looks like we're faster than the opposing Rotom, which I think is a big deal. So, we're in good shape now. Honestly, I have +2 Overheat. Reflect is still up. Kartana probably protects here, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm down to just play it safe. Fake out here. Overheat into the Rotom. Okay, Kartana does detect. Yeah, I mean, I could have read into that, but like it's not that big of a deal, I don't think. If I read into it, that's probably game over instantly this turn, but now I guess they could crit Leaf Blade onto my Landorus, which I guess is slightly scary. That almost just one shot. But they're probably buried, so they'll heal back a little bit. Yep. That's okay, though. I can Light Screen this next turn. Maybe they knock out my Rotom, but if I get Landorus in, it's totally fine. Yeah, they're going to go for an Overheat of their own onto my Rotom, it looks like. But that is not KO with Light Screen, and since they're only neutral in this one, so that's good. I do actually have to watch out a little bit, because my Rotom is like the primary win condition here in this game, I think. But yeah, we have enough firepower in this endgame, I think. We still have Reflect up, which is obviously good. I'm going to set up a Light Screen here. and T-Bolt into the Kartana. Yeah. I think that's fine. We like, because we have the screens advantage and we have the numbers advantage here, like with Landers and Fini, like I think, and Grimmsnarl can Spirit Break, like we should win the one. Ooh, that's a nice switch. Okay. But I ended up Thunderbolting that slot, so like, works for me. Okay, yeah, and I honestly think, like, Fini was maybe... I actually do think my opponent's playing out of what is a really tough spot, though. So, I commend them, because it's still not 100% over, despite us having just such a good lead. I will say it's really good our Rotom outspeeds the opposing Rotom, but since we Thunderbolted that slot, we, I think, are in really good shape now. Let's see if this knocks us out. Yeah, it doesn't with Light Screen, not even close. Nice. So that should be game over, unless they crit a Thunderbolt onto Rotom this next turn, which is definitely a possibility. I wouldn't count it out. They could also switch Rotom out into Kartana, but I think in this point, I have my opponent kind of locked into a pretty tough spot where I can just go for a Spirit Break onto Rotom. If you stay in, you just eat up a special attack drop and Thunderbolt onto Fini. Tapu Fini probably protects in this position, but it doesn't. Okay, nice. So I'm guessing, yeah, they're probably hoping that I like try to read into it too heavily. At this point, I think it should be locked up, barring a crit onto Rotom. Even if they crit Rotom, like, it's honestly fine, I think, because we just have so many Pokemon. And their Rotom is doing so little damage at this point, so nice. Yeah, because we brought the Kartana down to the Sash. Like, that's the thing, right? You always want to cover for your opponent's switch-ins if you can. And since Kartana is so paper frail, I really didn't have to worry about it, like, tanking a Max Lightning, especially because we got that nasty plot off. So I do think Rotom-Heat is one of those Pokemon that can, like, actually 1v4 some teams in the metagame right now, which is pretty neat. So I'm going to switch out into the Landers here. Actually, there's no reason to really switch, right? Well, actually, the reason to switch would be for a Conservation of Fake Out, which I'm down for, because I do get an Intimidate off with this. And I'll just T-Bolt here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Their Rotom doesn't do any damage at this point. Like, it's basically game over. Yeah. Alright, cool. Not bad. I told you, like, this, I really think it's, I mean, it's a really standard team, but it's really, really good. And it's really, really consistent. And I think Light Clay Grimmsnarl is just such a good set with all of these really, really bulky Pokemon. So, I'll play one more match here. But, yeah, if you're trying to get a high rank, or, you know, whether it be to get to Master Ball tier, get to Ultra Ball tier, or, you know, try to climb up high with Master Ball tier, this team really can do the trick, I think. Now, we were lucky to run into favorable matchups. I think we've had a very good string of RNG throughout the last, you know, couple of matches. Like, nothing went wrong. We didn't miss any major attacks. And we, you know, game 3 yesterday, we got that crit. And then today, we were able to get that early wake up against Venusaur as well. So those things are all fortunate. So I definitely don't think I've played perfectly. Against the Venusaur Torkoal game, I don't know, it's tricky because I could just fake out Max Flare there, but, like, I think their Torkoal, they probably went Sleep Powder and Yawn onto Rotom. That's what I would do if I were in their shoes. So, yeah. Glastrier and Articuno. Okay, after playing it a bunch yesterday, it comes back. Huh. Rotom's still not bad here, but it's not as strong. This could be a good Glastrier game. Although, I mean, after playing Articuno yesterday, like, Imprison's the first thing I expect, but maybe it could be Tailwind. Maybe it's not even Imprison, it's just offensive. Those are all possibilities. Don't want to activate competitive, so let's be careful about that. Calm Mind Fini is so good here if Rillaboom is eliminated, but that's a very big if, right? That's like an asterisk mark right there. I don't know. Grimmsnarl? Porygon? I want Fini, Glastrier. I want all of my Pokemon in this one. I like Glastrier a lot here, though. And I mean, Fini feels solid. It's just so tough not bringing Rotom here, especially because of its matchup against Rillaboom, but I think we're going to drop it this time around. And the main reason I'm a little bit less comfortable with Rotom in this game is because of the Heatran and the Raichu. Which means you have two Pokemon that can switch into my Thunderbolt and Overheat and wall it completely while also getting a positive effect. Raichu's obviously even worse because it can redirect that attack away. I don't think, like, it's a bad matchup for Rotom, to be honest, and I think in a best of 3 I would absolutely consider bringing it. But without knowing my opponent's sets, it makes me a little bit more nervous, and with the lack of Intimidate from my opponent's team, I think Glastrier under Trick Room looks really strong here. Sure, they have Heatran, but I can set up Light Screen. They're going to go Raichu Articuno, which was kind of what I thought they might go for. I don't know. Maybe Rotom would have been good here because I could go Grimmsnarl Rotom and just like fake out Nasty Plot. Although yesterday I got wrecked by trying to Nasty Plot early. I honestly think Imprison comes out here. So I'll fake out Articuno. I'd be shocked if they didn't have Imprison, right? I'd be shocked. Neither of these are really that big threats to me. If anything, I guess I don't really care that much about Raichu. Unless you're weakness policy Articuno, because I want to Ice Beam into it, but if it's policy, that's obviously a problem. Okay. Maybe I should have led Rotom. Well, actually, if I led Rotom, they could just... If they are policy, that's a big problem. They just go for Fake Out onto Grimmsnarl. Okay. I'm expecting Imprison here. Oh, it's just Freezing Glare. Wow. So I could have set up Trick Room. Maybe I should have just gone for it, honestly. Okay, I'm going to... That was their Trick Room answer. Oh. That's not good. That is not good. Well, that's why Freezing Glare is a strong attack. I'm actually, it's kind of cool that in 2 episodes in a row we played 3 Articunos. That is not something I would have bet on. But, yeah. That's okay. I think, yeah, I honestly suspect it to be weakness policy Articuno, so I think here they Dynamax Volt Switch and try to just one-shot Porygon. Now, to be honest, if they actually are weakness policy, you don't knock out the Porygon and I thaw out, this is instantly a game again. Like, I think it actually sets up our Glastrier for success. But even if I didn't get frozen there, like, I didn't Trick Room there, right? So it's not like the turn would have worked out incredibly for us. I was just reading into the Imprison or the self-Trick Room reverse. Yep, okay, so it is weakness policy. I think Porygon should survive this with the light screen, but it's a question of whether or not I thaw out. So, rather unfortunate. That's where... Oh, they actually Airstream. That's interesting. Yeah, we do survive, but... That's the tricky thing. Like, I was fine going for Tri-Attack turn 1, because I figured I could survive, and if they don't Imprison, Trick Room turn 2, but now we have to thaw out. But we actually thaw out. Nice. Let's go. Let's go, Porygon. Okay, that's huge. That instantly gets us back into the game. I will take that. I'm happy about that for sure. So that's good. I don't want to activate competitive. I could Spirit Break, Tri-Attack into Raichu here with relative ease. Yeah, I think I like that. Part of the only question is whether or not I'd want to... I don't think Recover really helps us here because I'm pretty sure we Faint anyway. They don't have Faint on Raichu though, which is good. I was thinking if they had Faint, they could actually not pick up a double KO here. But nice. We crit there. I think the double up was going to KO anyway, especially because they're not AV, they're Sash, and Grimmsnarl's special or attack is actually pretty good. But very fortunate we thawed out. Freeze is, I mean, the scariest status condition in this game, right? Because it can literally leave you immobile for like the entire rest of the game. Okay, so we get a KO. They go for another Airstream, that's fine. And they target Porygon, perfect. So, in essence, I mean, my opponent spent 2 turns of their Dynamax trying to knock out a Porygon, right? That's actually not a bad trade, since Porygon is like one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the format, but I'll take that. I think that works out pretty well for us. And I think I'm okay to go into Tapu Fini here first, because I want to stall out my opponent's Dynamax. Oh, I guess Rillaboom could come out here, though. Yeah, never mind. Glastrier was better because of the Rillaboom threat. And I think it is going to come out here, actually. No, they bring in Heatran. Okay, I was hoping to see Heatran, because I thought maybe they bring in Heatran to beat the Glastrier. So, I'm very happy about that, actually. Yeah, that's great. That's really, really great. Because now I can actually go Spirit Break onto Heatran. That gets rid of your Air Balloon, and I can just Calm Mind with the Tapu Fini. I don't even have to worry about Reflect here. And Glastrier should actually clean up this game now, especially because they're not Sugar Berry on Heatran. Glastrier should just one-shot every Pokemon at this point. And Calm Mind Fini is also looking pretty good. If you're my opponent, what you should do is intentionally not knock out Grimmsnarl. If you knock out Grimmsnarl, you accelerate the game even faster, and you give me a free switch into the Glastrier. Okay. Honestly, that Spirit Break did more than I expected. So we pop the balloon, which is good. Ooh, Steel Beam Heatran. That's so cool. That is really neat. Really doesn't do that much damage, though, so that's good. But Muddy Water probably would have sealed up the game there. That being said, I've actually never seen Steel Beam Heatran ever. I actually like running Steel Beam Duraludon to beat, like, Hatterene and Indeedee stuff in Series 1, like the first couple of weeks, but yeah. Let's see if Mindstorm KOs. Nice, we survive. Cool. The only question now is whether or not I want to... Because my opponent could actually win this by just stalling out my Trick Room at this point in the game, right? As it correctly did, they did not KO the Tapu Fini there. Sorry, they did not KO the Grimmsnarl, which was the correct play to make in that position. Because what I could do here, I still have 2 turns of Trick Room, so like... Actually, I mean, Spirit Break plus +1 Moonblast I would think is enough to KO Articuno. I don't think I should risk it though, but it's actually really tough. I don't know. Their Articuno is rather offensive too. Okay. I'm gonna go for it. If Articuno hangs on though, like maybe it's better here to protect Fini, but like I feel like because I'm running out of turns of Trick Room, I actually need to get some damage down on the board. So this is funny because this was the exact problem I was talking about earlier in which like, okay, their Heatran protects, that's fine. Did they double protect? If not, I don't think Articuno can pick up a double KO here. Okay, nice. So Moltres does not protect. I don't think Moonblast KOs there. Oh, yeah, that was maybe a little bit ambitious. But it's okay if, like, because I can just KO the Articuno with Max Hailstorm next turn. If this knocks out, it should just be game over, but I don't think this KOs. Oh, I gave it another competitive boost. It was close, so I thought it was a reasonable assumption there. They're going to glare into Fini, but that's okay. It's going to be a tight finish, though, I think. It's definitely going to be a tight finish. That's so funny. Because the main thing that my opponent did really well here was I also, like, the Steel Beam makes a big difference, right? Because if it's Flash Cannon there, like, yeah, Fini might even... Well, then I probably wouldn't go like, I maybe just go for another Calm Mind. Last turn of Trick Room here. I do think I need a KO. We have Light Screen up here, right? Yeah, so that's good. So honestly, I really need a KO Articuno here. It's a big problem if I don't. So I'm content to Spirit Break here into Heatran, because this is going to be at -2. Dynamax this thing, and go for a... Do we really need a Knuckle? Wait, does Knuckle KO Articuno? I'm afraid, yeah, it resists it so much to the point where I don't want to risk it. So I'm down to Spirit Break, Dynamax, and just Hailstorm. That also gives me chip damage against the Articuno. And the main reason I'm doing this is because it's the last turn of Trick Room. Articuno cannot protect in front of this Hailstorm. Even if it protects, I just KO through Protect. And that's the main thing. That thing is at +5 special attack, so I need to take care of it. With Spirit Break, the Heatran's also at -2 special defense, and we conserved our Dynamax. So this is still okay, but for what felt like should have really been a win immediately, I think my opponent played really well to like not give me the win immediately. So I have to work for it. And, you know, things could definitely go wrong with some crits. They don't protect on the Articuno, so like we probably had game here immediately if I just max Quake and Spirit Break. But the reason like I'm nervous about that is because if you actually have Protect on the Articuno and you Protect here, then you have a +5 like Freezing Glare the next turn, right? This play is pretty safe for me on this end. It's a guaranteed knockout into Articuno, guaranteed attack boost, and guaranteed special attack drop onto Heatran. So I don't mind it too much. I suppose though if my opponent does have like that Urshifu in the back, could be a little bit scary. Like, Glastrier should just one-shot every Pokemon at this point, but we also know Heatran is Steel Beam. So, like, if you... Let's see. A Burn here would be bad, too, but no Burn, which is good. The cool thing, though, is that Grimmsnarl actually is really good into Urshifu as well, right? Because Spirit Break actually, like, just KOs you if you're Dark Urshifu. See if it's Rillaboom or Urshifu here. If it's Rillaboom, I think we're good. Unless you're Banded Superpower. Okay, it is going to be Urshifu. It's actually kind of interesting here. Because... I mean, I can just Reflect here. With Reflect, I'm pretty sure we're good. I'm only worried about Steel Beam plus, like, Close Combat KOing, but I'm pretty sure we should survive. I don't know. The other play, like, I could Protect Heatran here, but if I Protect and they double up on a Grimmsnarl, I might actually just lose the game straight up. So I think I'd rather just Reflect and attack here. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to Reflect and go for the Max Knuckle. Maybe Hailstorm's stronger there, actually. I mean, I'm thinking with Hail +1 and Life Orb, there's no way Urshifu survives this, but let's see. Plus, they should Close Combat, right? Yeah, they did Poison Jab into the Grimmsnarl. That's exactly why I didn't want to protect the Glastrier there. We should survive Heat Wave. Nice, nice. The screens are just so good. Like, Glastrier under screens is, like, honestly just so powerful. It looks like they were banded there. Do we see a Sash on that team? Yeah, it was on Raichu. Yeah, so because of that, yeah, I should have... I can see what they were going for there, though, basically. Like, hope I protect, maybe knock out Grimmsnarl, or even if you don't, like... Actually, you basically need to hope to KO and then win with Heatran. So it was going to be really tough for my opponent to win this as soon as Trick Room went up, especially because they committed their Dynamax earlier. Yeah. This is where the Spirit Breaks were so good for us, right? Like, being able to decrease Heatran special attack guaranteed was really nice. So it's kind of funny because we got Articuno to, like, +5, but in the end, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Yeah, we've got Light Screen. They need to crit a Steel Beam here. That's basically the win con, I think. So let's see if they can get it. Yeah, I always max Quake. I mean, that's a guaranteed KO even with Protect. Even if you had Substitute. Well, we've already seen... Well, we've only seen Steel and Fire and Protect, right? So there's Steel Beam. Nice. Yep, doesn't do nearly enough. And they KO themselves. This is a really cool tech, though, honestly. Like, Steel Beam probably is really good in the Glastrier matchup if I'm not Dynamax and if I didn't decrease your special attack, right? Like, imagine just, like, a huge burst of damage immediately. But, like, that's why screens are just so good with this team. You get those screens up, it's just so hard to knock you out. And you don't even have to worry about super effective attacks because Glastrier is just so bulky. So, yeah. I think, like, the last 2 episodes shows how powerful this team is. I really think it's one of the most consistent teams you can be using right now. And it's one where even if your opponent knows your items, it doesn't really change that much, right? Like, some of the teams we feature on Road to Ranked, I think it does very much involve the element of surprise, which makes it super powerful. And those teams can potentially even be stronger when you're climbing the ladder, but once people know what you're using and have seen that core, it becomes a little bit harder. Whereas with this team, it's just 6 of the most common Pokemon you see in the format, but it doesn't matter because they just mesh so well together, and the team is so well built, and you have a lot of great, like, inherent synergies. So, yeah. Thank you once again to Willy for the team. Check him out, linked in the description below. Thank you to you all, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and don't forget to answer the question of the day. Let me know how you would improve the in-game Pokemon experience. All right, I'll see you next time. Peace.